Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today we're taking a really close look at a critical issue in South Africa. We're drawing from an op-ed by Brian Adams called Award-Winning Exploitation Unmasking South Africa's Sustainability Facade, plus some related social media commentary. Our mission, really, is to unpack this gap, this huge gap between how corporate responsibility looks on paper and, well, its actual impact on rural communities there. And importantly, what does this mean for you listening right now? Because there's this central tension, isn't there, between the awards, the glowing reports, and then the really harsh realities people face. It almost suggests these awards can, mask what's really going on.
Absolutely. And what's striking right from the start, I think, is the honesty in the source material. We're hearing from ESG professionals themselves, the insiders, and they're admitting quite openly some really big challenges and contradictions within their own field. That kind of candor, right away, it sets you up for a bit of an aha moment.
Okay, yeah, let's dig into that. This uncomfortable truth. Brian Adams talks about this experience back in October 2022. He was at, get this, a luxury 3-day retreat. And he's there with ESG professionals from, the biggest players in South Africa, mining, banking, agribusiness.
Yeah.
And he says they were surprisingly candid, almost embarrassed about the whole thing. They admitted that ESG, environmental, social governance, had sort of become, well, their words, a game.
Yeah.
A box-ticking, scorecard manipulating charade. That was pretty strong language.
It really is.
And one person even said, look, we give our best advice, but it's never acted on because ESG professionals are not core to the business. Wow. I mean, what does that tell us when the people doing the work feel like they're just playing games?
It speaks volumes, doesn't it? It suggests this polished veneer of responsibility. It's hiding some pretty uncomfortable truths. It really exposes the hollow meaning of responsibility when profit comes first. It shows these initiatives might just be seen as optional extras, not fundamental.
Yeah.
So that gap between the public image and the lived experience, it points to a real systemic failure, according to the source.
Right. And from those confessions, the op-ed pivots straight to the ground, to the harsh truths Brian Adams heard directly from people in rural communities, real stories.
Yeah.
Like in Citrusdal, Cedarburg, Matsakama municipality, families who'd worked the land for decades.
Yeah.
Suddenly finding themselves illegally evicted, just like that.
Imagine your whole life, your history on that land, gone.
And then you look at Grabu, this place called Lebanon, forestry dwellers, living with raw sewage in the streets.
Yeah.
No title deeds, no security, none.
It's basic dignity, basic services, just absent.
And in the Riebeek Valley, Swartland municipality, similar story. Farm workers, dwellers, no running water, no real legal protection. And the worst part, if they speak up, they risk everything. Getting targeted, fired, evicted.
Yeah, there's a real climate of fear described. And when you put these stories together, as the op-ed does, a pattern emerges. It's chilling. It's not just that companies profit while people suffer. The argument is that the system itself seems built to sacrifice people and communities for profit. These aren't exceptions, the source suggests, but symptoms of a deeper systemic issue. Wealth for some, built on the hardship of others.
So how did we even get here? The op-ed gives a bit of history on this whole corporate responsibility thing in South Africa. It talks about this cycle, First it was CSR, corporate social responsibility, then CSI, corporate social investment, stakeholder engagement, now ESG reporting. It's like a constant rebranding.
Always a new acronym, a new framework.
Exactly. And the critique in the source is really sharp here. That, okay, each rebrand promised ethical business, social progress, but behind the shiny labels, the op-ed argues it's the same extractive behavior, just, polished and packaged differently. The core problems remain.
And this critique goes deeper. The source argues these frameworks, CSI, ESG, all of them, they often end up being reputational shields. They're more about managing how the company looks rather than actually changing the systems that harm people or the environment. It's about managing reputations instead of transforming systems.
So it's like PR, almost.
In a way, yeah. That's the implication. It cloaks structural harm in the language of progress. And a big part of this, highlighted in the source, is the metrics, what gets measured. Most ESG reports focus on, the easy stuff. Carbon emissions, board diversity, maybe donations.
Things you can count easily.
Exactly, things you can count. But the force argues these have become proxies. They let businesses tick boxes, look good, without tackling the really hard systemic changes needed.
Okay, that makes sense. Focusing on the measurable, not necessarily the most meaningful change. And it's not just the companies, is it? The op-ed points a finger at the state, too. It says the state routinely fails to enforce laws. That's pretty damning.
It is. It suggests a failure of duty.
Yeah, I mean, examples given are departments like agriculture, land reform, rural development, employment, and labor. Apparently, they just allow illegal evictions to continue unchecked. Laws designed to protect people, like the Extension of Security of Tenure Act, ESTGAST. The op-ed says they exist only on paper.
And the implication of that failure is profound. It suggests a state that's unwilling to challenge entrenched economic interests that maintain inequality. The source frames it almost as a conscious choice, favoring corporate interests over vulnerable communities. The laws might be there, but without enforcement, what good are they, especially in rural areas?
Right. It raises huge questions about who the state actually serves.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where it gets really personal for the listener. Because for many people, especially maybe middle-class South Africans, these rural issues feel very far away, invisible almost.
Out of sight, out of mind, perhaps.
Exactly. But here's the connection the op-ed makes, and it's quite startling.
Hey.
It says, our food systems, wine and fruit exports, pension funds, and shopping habits are tangled in supply chains, sustaining rural worker exploitation. Think about that. That bottle of wine you bought, the fruit in your supermarket basket, even your responsible investment fund.
Mm-hmm.
The op-ed argues your money is part of this story. And then it says, quite bluntly, you are complicit in exploitation.
That's a tough message to hear. But it's that aha moment, isn't it? It forces you to think, okay, these choices I make, maybe assuming they're ethical because the company has awards or reports, maybe they hide a much more complex and frankly, exploitative reality. It challenges us to look past the corporate story.
Definitely. So, given all this, the flawed systems, the state failure, our own entanglement, what's the way forward according to the source? It argues that CSR, CSI, ESG, they're just not enough. Not unless they actually become tools for justice, redress, dignity, and give workers a genuine stake in the benefits of their own labor.
It's shifting from just doing good to actually ensuring fairness.
Exactly. And then comes this really powerful line, anything less reproduces slave-like conditions.
Wow.
It insists these models can't just, put a plaster on the wound. They have to demand justice. The op-ed is really clear. Corporate South Africa will not fix this with statistics or awards. Forget the glossy reports. It calls for a decisive break from extractive practices and into this sort of symbolic benevolence that just papers over the cracks.
Symbolic benevolence. Yeah.
The source basically says, we do not need charity disguised as innovation. What's needed is justice rooted in policy, practice, and governance. Real changes that respect dignity, ensure equity, and let affected people actually participate meaningfully. So it's a call for fundamental system change, not just tinkering around the edges.
Precisely. It questions if these programs are tackling root causes or just managing symptoms.
And finally, there's this point about urgency, about time. We often hear it, right? Oh, progress takes time. It's easy to say.
Especially from a distance.
Exactly. Easy to say from boardrooms far removed from fields where workers face harmful pesticides, as the op-ed puts it, where women work long hours, maybe without even basic sanitation, like toilets, where people live in legal limbo, unable to even get unemployment benefits. For those people, the source argues, progress is decades too late.
That really lands the core message, doesn't it? That without genuine enforcement, real teeth behind the laws, protecting workers and ensuring accountability, all these promises from ESG just ring hollow. They do not heal. They deepen the wounds they pretend to address. It's about accountability over performance.
So, wrapping this up, the central idea we've unpacked is this huge difference, isn't it? The difference between just doing good deeds and actually dismantling the systems that cause the harm in the first place.
One soothes, the other solves. And the force puts it very powerfully. Charity soothes the wound. Justice closes it. Justice closes it. So the question for you listening is, what does being responsible or well-informed truly mean when our everyday lives, our choices are tangled up in systems that maybe need more than soothing? Systems